Hello internet, Jazza here. I talked big before about the fact that I was going to be recording a lot in the run-up to the election. That's ended up not happening. For those of you who aren't following my escapades on Instagram and Twitter, I am currently on part of a trip set up by the US Embassy to explore American values. So I've been in DC, Orlando, and I've just had a day's worth of traveling, and I'm now in Dallas before going on to Chicago. I'm very lucky. It's all been a little bit insane, but it has meant that this time around I haven't been able to give you guys as much information as I wanted to in the run-up to the general election in the UK this year. For that, I'm sorry. But now it's crunch time, guys. As part of this tour, I had the privilege of seeing Donald Trump speak in person.
Thank you. God bless you. God bless our fallen heroes. God bless their families. God bless our military. And God bless the United States of America.
Seeing that speech that he did on Memorial Day and talking to his supporters afterwards really did hammer home, fire home is not a phrase, really did hammer home the consequences of democracy and of the choices that we make around voting and who represents us. If you're still confused as to who to vote for, then I would recommend listening to my podcast, which has been continuous throughout this whole process. That is where I am overtly political with my co-host Jimmy, and where we've been able to do something that's a little bit more of a breakdown of policy and what is happening in current events and how this election is being shaped. But today I want to encourage you to make a decision. As I said in all of my videos in the run-up to the election in 2015, there are legitimate reasons to vote for every party. There's an awful lot of tribalism at the moment. Social media encourages echo chambers, thought bubbles. Thought bubbles? And it is very easy to demonise the other side. Tim Farron's a homophobe. Caroline Lucas and the Greens are incompetent. Nicola Sturgeon is a filthy nationalist. Theresa May is heartless. And Jeremy Corbyn is incompetent. Those are all things that you've probably heard, and depending on your view on each of those people, you've either batted them away or embraced them wholeheartedly. But what is important for us as young people, and I'm assuming you're a relatively young person watching this, I have my demographics, I know everything about you. We're pretty shit at partaking in democracy. And that is a point of immense frustration for me, because we could have so much power. We could be a voting bloc, and so often we let down the people who could be representing us, rather than take into consideration the views and desires and wants and needs of young people. Because we don't turn out, they focus on protecting the status of baby boomers in our country, who have it really, really good, of multinational companies who have it really, really good. And I think that this campaign, for all of its faults, has managed to show that nothing is a given. This was meant to be the nothing election, right? This was meant to be just the way that Theresa May destroyed Labour. She was going to get like a massive majority of proportions not seen since '97, and Tony Blair ended up getting into Downing Street with that thumping huge majority. We've seen those polls close. Labour are still behind. There's not a poll that has shown that Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party are in front of the Tories, but it's been actually really refreshing and really encouraging that this was meant to be the Brexit election, and what's ended up being the topics of discussion has been social care, has been even the environment to a certain extent, security, because of the recent London attacks and the Manchester bomb. In order to maintain my sense of personal branding, I have to encourage you to vote, and encourage you to sometimes vote for the lesser of the evils. There's no one that I particularly back 100% in this election either, but I know what outcomes I want. I'm a big believer in reforming our electoral system. That's a big thing that is driving, and actually the major thing that is driving my voting decision on Thursday. You can listen to the podcast, shameless plug, to find out who I'm actually voting for. And you'll have those issues as well, but there are also issues of like tactical voting. If you want to keep a particular party out, there are resources that will help you do that. Look at all of the links in the description below, they will help you. And although your Uncle Jazza would rather that you did turn out and choose to vote for someone in your local constituency, remember you're voting for your local MP, not for the person who's going to end up being Prime Minister. That's very important. But the options of spoiling your ballot and abstaining in voting are also open to us in this country. I think that is also an immense privilege. But please ensure that if you do decide to not vote or to draw a willy on your ballot paper, why is it always willies? Then do not do so out of ignorance or laziness. We're guilty of laziness sometimes as well. I'm going to leave resources from the BBC, which could either be a right-wing pressure media organisation or the voice box of left-wing shills, depending on what side of the political aisle you are. The fact that both of those criticisms get targeted at the BBC probably shows that the BBC is pretty fucking good. They have breakdowns of all of the major parties' stances, of their manifestos. Take the time to read through it in the hours that we have before you can go to the polls. And then if genuinely nobody tickles your fancy, then abstain, or draw the willy, or vagina, or vulva, whichever you like. But just know that whatever you do, even if you're in a safe seat like I am, your vote will have consequences. And then finally, actually, the final thing I want you to take away from this, and I think that we're getting better at this as a society since Brexit and Trump happened, because we realised that, oh fuck, shit can get real. Democracy doesn't end on June the 9th, the day after the election. Democracy is an ongoing process. You will end up having an individual representative who goes to Parliament to speak for you. Make sure that you hold them to account. Let them know that you don't like whatever they say if you don't, and if you do like it, then send them the hand claps on Twitter. We love that shit. And if you feel yourself aligned to a particular cause, join it. Go out on marches, go to hustings, to meetings, because democracy does not end on a single day every 5 years or however many years it is. If you see bad in the country and in the world that you live in, it's your job to be the change that you want to see in the world. There's an Instagram quote for you. This isn't a particularly sexy video. It's not meant to be. There will be more sexy videos coming later. Yes, like that. Actually, genuinely like that. That will be coming at some point. The one thing I keep on telling myself, even in the face of unrepresentative electoral systems, and in the face of politicians who lie on all sides of the aisle, and on politicians who have ulterior interests and views that I find abhorrent in some cases, and policies that make things worse. In the face of all of that, I think that election day is a chance to make it so that they find it impossible to ignore you. Make it impossible for them to ignore you. And we'll get there. We will. Now go do your thing. I've been rolling with oranges. I'll see you really soon.